Chapter 862. Central Continent, Hu Immortal Blessed Land. Starlight Immortal Gu. Fang Yuan stood on top of a Fang Yuan stone nest. At his will, he activated Starlight Immortal Gu. Immediately, a starlight pillar burst out, shooting into the stone nest. Under Fang Yuan's control, the starlight did not harm anyone. It was very mild. Inside the stone nest, there were many arrangements of Gu formations. Once the starlight pillar shot in, it was dissolved into traces of blue starlight rays, drawn into the first room of every level. The hairy man in the first room activated his Gu worms skillfully, absorbing the starlight trace and processing it. The partly done product was sent into the second room for the second step. Going through a total of 7 rooms, Star Thought Gu were refined one after another. These Star Thought Gu moved along the tunnels, sliding towards the deepest storage area of the stone nest. Each time Fang Yuan activated Starlight Immortal Gu, the amount produced was enough for these hairy men to work for 8 to 9 days, without any rest. After using Starlight Immortal Gu, there would be a huge quantity of starlight. Fang Yuan did not need to purchase Starlight Gu like before, and refine his Star Thought Gu using the Mortal Starlight Gu as material. This saved a lot of trouble, and his cost reduced slightly as well. Even though using Starlight Immortal Gu required immortal essence, if he purchased a vast number of Mortal Starlight Gu, he would still need to pay quite a sum. The cost of acquiring them was high. The modified Star Thought Gu recipe was safer as well. Refining Gu was a risky thing to do. It was like battling. That was why a lot of hairy men got injured in the process, or even died. After producing the starlight, Fang Yuan did not leave. He observed them for a while. A while later, he nodded slightly, feeling pleased internally. The current Star Thought Gu recipe was already modified by him. The number of hairy man deaths had greatly reduced in comparison to before. Most importantly, the production of Star Thought Gu did not fall in numbers. But the modification has reached its limits, unless my Star Path attainment level rises, or if I find a better Star Thought Gu recipe. Fang Yuan knew clearly that he was not a Star Path cultivator. His Star Path attainment level might stay at this level forever. Or perhaps when he explores a dream realm in the future, his Star Path attainment level might rise. But who could be certain of events in the future? It is a pity. 60% of rooms in this stone nest are empty. If I have enough hairy men, the production of Star Thought Gu can double. Fang Yuan felt it was a pity. Just now, to refine change form Immortal Gu, he not only used up the success Dao mark from the infallible inheritance, he even used up almost all of his immortal materials and immortal essence stones. The result was that Fang Yuan was currently broke. Thus, the problem of a hairy man's shortage could not be solved now. Even if he caught and captured wild hairy men, he would need to spend lots of effort and time to train them, until they were proper slaves that could be useful in refining Gummer. Fang Yuan did not know how to train wild hairy men into proper slaves. The fastest way was to buy hairy man slaves from other Gu immortals. Regrettably, Fang Yuan did not have the spare cash for that. Even his immortal essence storage was very low now. He had around 10 beads. He needed to use them wisely. One could say that Fang Yuan was in an extremely weak condition now. Even though he had the killer move myriad self, 3 new Star Path Immortal Gu, and multiple Star Path Immortal Killer moves of Star-Lord Wanxiang, without enough immortal essence, he could not use any of the killer moves. As the saying goes, there is no need for worry if one has ample resources. To Gu immortals, resources referred to immortal essence stones and immortal essence mainly. Thus, the most important thing for Fang Yuan was to accumulate immortal essence now. After leaving the stone nest, Fang Yuan went to inspect the other 2 stone nests. During this period, these 2 stone nests were handled by Hei Lou Lan. She activated Strength Chi Immortal Gu, providing the Gu refinement materials for countless hairy men. Large numbers of Air Sac Gu were created. They contained Guts Gu as they were sold to the different forces of Central Continent or in Treasure Yellow Heaven. In these 2 stone nests, each room had a hairy man. The risk of refining Air Sac Gu was much higher than refining Star Thought Gu. Why was the stone nest still at full capacity? That was because Fang Yuan reassigned the hairy men in the third stone nest to fill up these two stone nests. Fang Yuan's current focus was on expanding the Guts Gu trade. During the Central Continent Refinement Path Convention, Fang Yuan dueled Feng Jin Huang and made an agreement in public. From now on, he was going to sell a large number of Guts Gu to Spirit Affinity House. Thus, the demand for Guts Gu increased. Fang Yuan had to increase its production. Inside a stone nest, Fang Yuan met up with Hei Lou Lan. Hei Lou Lan was browsing the information about Central Continent. Central Continent's 10 great sects are secretly trying to capture Song Xing. Have you heard about it? Once they met, Hei Lou Lan asked this to Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan smiled lightly. Of course I did. This matter can be kept from mortals, but it cannot be hidden from Gu immortals. Even though Central Continent's 10 great ancient sects are concealing their tracks, the other Gu immortals in Central Continent would not want to keep this a secret. Right now, they are looking forward to seeing some drama in the 10 great ancient sects. Sigh, Hei Lou Lan sighed deeply. Such a prime opportunity, but we missed it. If we could kill Song Xing during this period, we might be able to obtain Starform Blessed Land. Fang Yuan was silent briefly before saying, Hei Lou Lan, you're simplifying the matter too much. Central Continent is not Northern Plains. We are both Northern Plains Gu immortals. If our aura leaks, others will find out. The consequences of exposing our identities are too severe. We cannot handle it. Song Xing is also very crafty. He is skilled at escaping, while we have mediocre investigative methods. Even the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent cannot find him in Truyang Mountain Range, or how can we find him? You are right. Hei Lou Lan sighed. She replied gloomily. Ever since she was awakened by Fang Yuan, she realized her own shortcomings. These last days, she had been thinking daily about how to manage her blessed land. How could she earn resources and sustain her own cultivation? How could she become more independent? But reality was cruel. It was not easy to start a business. Hei Lou Lan was starting from scratch. She needed to spend a huge amount of time and face many setbacks to set up her revenue sources. Even if her plan worked, she would face fierce competition in the market. How much profit she would get would depend entirely on the situation. Hei Lou Lan thought about it for a while. She went to Fairy Lishan for advice. She learned that to start a business from scratch, she would make great losses initially. The process would be filled with difficulty, and in the end, whether she earned much or not was uncertain. She might be slowing her own progress. There was no helping it. She had a 10 extreme immortal aperture. The flow of time in it was extremely fast. Her heavenly tribulations and earthly calamities were also much stronger. Hei Lou Lan investigated and realized what was best suitable were unique businesses like Guts Gu, a monopoly market that could be solely hers. Or she could be like Fang Yuan, taking several sources of revenue from Dongfang tribe. For example, the eerie fire dragon pythons, regretful spiders, dragonfish, and others. These were originally taken good care of by Dongfang tribe. Fang Yuan was only taking over and changing where he sold them. After discovering this, Hei Lou Lan was even more attracted to Starform Blessed Land. As long as she obtained it, Hei Lou Lan would have a stable foundation. Inheriting Starlord Wanxiang's businesses, she would be self-sufficient. It would be enough to aid her in her cultivation. Fang Yuan did not tell Hei Lou Lan that he was the owner of Starform Blessed Land. He liked to keep his cards hidden. The Snowy Mountain Alliance would expire eventually. It was uncertain if Hei Lou Lan would remain an ally or become a foe. Of course, if Hei Lou Lan noticed something and asked Fang Yuan because of the alliance, he could not lie, even though he could remain silent. That would just act as simple confirmation for Hei Lou Lan. He would hide this for as long as he could. That was Fang Yuan's plan. After Yu Muchun refined the immortal Gu, he traveled deep into Truyang Mountain Range. Ever since he separated from Ben Duoyi, he had used an immortal killer move to conceal his tracks. On this afternoon, he stopped in front of a small, ordinary-looking valley. He took out an information path Gu worm and tossed it in front of him. The Gu worm vanished, like a rock entering water. There were ripples in the air. They expanded and an opening appeared, filled with blood-red light inside. Yu Muchun did not hesitate. He took a large step forward and entered the spatial crack. At the next moment, he was inside a strange area. The crack behind him closed tightly. Yu Mu-chun's vision was filled with blood-red light. There was a dark and eerie, poisonous swamp. Large numbers of skeletons were inside the mud. An intense bloody smell assaulted him. Yu Mu-chun frowned unconsciously as he said, "Using so many blood sacrifices, it seems your injuries were severe, Song Xing." Cough, cough, I had no choice. It was quite fortunate that I escaped with my life. Come in. At a deep part of the swamp, Song Xing's voice could be heard. Looking at this situation, the hairy man Gu Immortal, Yu Mu-chun, was actually acquainted with a top-tier demonic path, Gu Immortal of Central Continent, Song Xing. They seemed to be quite familiar with each other. They had a close relationship. Yu Mu-chun moved in familiar fashion towards a deep part of the swamp. This was not the first time he was in this place. He was familiar with the terrain. Eventually, in the blood pool at the center of the swamp, he saw Song Xing. Song Xing only had a head and over half his chest left. The entirety of his body was submerged in the blood pool for healing. Only after Yu Mu-chun came did his head emerge from the pool. Seeing Song Xing, Yu Mu-chun's expression turned grave. With your injuries, it will be hard to take part in the upcoming crucial plan. Haha, I will just be giving up my life in cultivation, that's all. Song Xing's expression was calm. He spoke in a carefree manner. He changed the subject afterwards. Did you refine that rule of path, Immortal Gu? Using the success Tao mark from the infallible inheritance, combined with my nature Gu refinement techniques, success was certain. But it is a pity, if given more time, I would be able to learn some useful things from this success Tao mark. The success Tao marks in the infallible inheritance are different from ordinary success Tao marks. They are very closely related to refinement path. If I could research upon it, I would be able to create my own infallible inheritance. Yu Mu-chun shook his head as he sighed.